This is an ABP Live Podcast.
Well, hello, this is a brand new episode of Cracking Conversations. I'm Aabir Lahiry, and joining me today in conversation is Sucheta DasGupta, who has translated this amazing book, which is a collection of a lot of stories from Bangla, written by Trailokyanath Mukhopadhyay, also known as T.N. Mukherjee. It says that these are tales of early magic realism in Bengali. Welcome to ABP Live Podcast. How are you?
Very well. Thank you for having me here.
What brought you or what gave you the inspiration to write this book? Like, kahan se aaye thought ki chalo, let me translate these stories?
Well, that is a very honest question because I would have asked the same of myself. So in 2011, I discovered that Trailokyanath actually invented the very modern genre of speculative fiction.
Okay. What do you mean by speculative fiction? Like, what is speculative fiction?
Speculative fiction is an umbrella term comprising surrealism, magic realism, fable, science fiction also.
Okay.
And like a whole lot of fairy tales as well.
Okay.
So these are maybe the 5 key elements. So they can be either of these.
Okay.
And they are distinct from realist fiction or hyper-realist fiction. Hyper-realism is again a form of realism. So in that they build a world which is not actually existing.
Like a Harry Potter, for example, for all those people who are not a very popular thing.
Margaret Atwood,
Yeah.
Ursula K. Le Guin, Octavia Butler.
Okay. So these are like the pioneer names.
Yes.
Okay. So he was also a person of similar stature, but in the Bangla literature.
Yes, I would say that, and also he was writing in this genre or genres many years, several decades, many decades before either the term magic realism or the term speculative fiction were coined.
Okay. क्या होता है अंदर magic realism में मतलब what kind of stories do we expect? Like I have never read a magic realism per se.
Okay, so there are 2 ways to go about magic realism. One way is that it has to be something which is it depicts reality in a way that is magical, and it has to be something which is doesn't actually exist in front of you, and at the same time it is telling a story.
Okay.
That's a loose definition. Also, it has to have a radical project or a political project.
Oh, okay.
So
it will always convey a message which is for the larger audience, but with a very unreal kind of a plot in the background.
Yeah, that's one way to say.
Okay. What kind of stories do we see inside this? For example, I'm a layman, I'll be really honest and not saying in front of the camera. This is a very candid conversation. This is not an interview we are having. So just be as natural. I'm a person who does not indulge into a book before I speak to the author because of the fact that I'll always have a very basic questions or very biased questions. So I really want to know what is inside it, and then I'll actually read the entire book. What kind of stories do I see inside this?
So in that case, I might be afraid of giving you a spoiler. But,
Achha.
yeah, but I.
But then do.
Yeah. Okay.
But not the entire story, but what kind of story is? What kind of various stories do we see inside this?
Okay, so this is actually a small section of the entire matter that I had translated. I had translated 3 of the novels and about 13-14 short stories of this person, short and long stories. This book contains 1 long story, 3 or 4 short stories and one novel.
Okay.
The novel is about a girl who, back in 19th century Bengal, girls used to marry at the age of 12.
Oh, okay.
Several of its stories have got girls.
But I guess that was not only in Bengal, but like the entire...
The exact age of 12.
Exact age of 12?
Yeah. 12 was like, she's an old maid. 9, they might get married. Yeah.
Oh, bapre. Okay.
So
we are sitting in the 21st century and like this is 2023, we don't...
It's amazing to contemplate.
Agreed.
It's amazing to contemplate and not feel alarmed at it. Yeah. It's an achievement not to feel alarmed at it. And also, come to know of how they might be feeling.
Agreed.
So the protagonist is called Kankavati or
Okay.
Konkavati. I will go with the Bengali pronunciation. I'm more comfortable. So Konkavati is a 12-year-old child whose fate it is to be married, given away in marriage to not twice married, but a man who is old enough to be her grandfather.
Oh, so this is not a child marriage. This is somebody who is way elder to you.
Yeah, I mean, like, she is the child who is getting
married, but
to a person who has lost his wife, who is a widower, and who is very, very old, like he has his teeth falling out, and he's lost his hair. But more importantly, I mean, like, to me as a girl, is the fact that she is getting married, at age 12 against her wishes, and she is close to a private tutor who is in love with her.
Okay.
But he doesn't have the means to, change the decision that has been taken in the village panchayat, and whoever are in Konkavati's favor are being conspired against and made into outcasts, like social pariahs, and then actually cast out of the village, excommunicated, and asked to leave the village. And so that boy is called Ketu. So Ketu and his mother have been asked to leave the village because Ketu apparently took a stick to the old man Janardhan Chaudhary, who is the prospective groom. And the girl has been told that she will get married, and she falls into a delirious fever, and she dreams up the part 2 of Konkavati, the treks of Konkavati, which is the larger part. The shorter part is so she dreams, and then there are themes of in the dream there are talking animals, there is a tiger, speaking tiger, and Ketu gets into trouble with a demoness, and she has to rescue Ketu. She has to muster help, summon help, magical help, to break the spell that the demoness has cast on Ketu, so that Ketu becomes weak and she can eat him. And
so that is the primary plot of the story.
That is the plot. It also has a reference of the custom of Sahamaran, which is called Sati. Again, I do not like the term Sati, even though it is the historical term, because it actually means an honest woman. But it was also called Sahamaran, or Sahamaran would mean something like dying together. So there are references to Sahamaran in various of Trailokyanath stories.
Because I guess that was the
social milieu.
Yeah, that was a social milieu around that time, around that age. So I guess that has been a part of his stories as well. Right? What all other kind of stories do we see?
There is a completely different story, and it is the only realist story in this scene. There is one other fairy tale, one other folk tale from Japan, fairy tale from Iran. Iran used to be called incidentally Nishapur in primordial times, like yes.
Wow, I was not.
That is a historical fact that he gives us.
It was called
Nishapur, northeastern,
Nishapur, okay, northeastern.
So, when I read Nishapur, I thought he is describing an Indian place.
Agreed.
Yeah, then I come to know that it is a place where the primordial kings of Iran ruled, and they ruled from northeastern Iran, and it used to be called Neshabur, which is Indianized into Nishapur.
Okay. Wow, a lot of interesting facts I'm getting to know today.
Yeah, I need to tell you the fun story, which is there, which is a realist story. So that is about, it's like, if I can paraphrase it into the following words. It is about kitchen politics in the lawyer Nilambar Ghosh's kitchen. So there are various maids and a manservant, two men servants, and they vie against each other, and they fight against each other as to who can steal the most sweetmeats and most number of goodies from the kitchen.
Very cool.
Yeah, and so they kind of get into competition with each other, and they conspire to take away the job of one of them. So that's the story.
Wow, that looks like a full-fledged, like a OTT series or maybe like a film.
Yes, it's like an OTT series.
It looks very interesting, sounds very interesting. Acha, before we dig deep into the world of, or the stories which Trailokyanath has written. What is the history of this man? For all those people who are maybe are millennials, so they may not know much about this gentleman and this writer, and what kind of stories or what kind of legacy he has given us.
Okay, I'd love to answer that question, except that he wore so many hats and he worked in so many professions that maybe I won't be able to tell all of them.
Okay.
So he was a school teacher.
Okay.
He wasn't like, highly educated in terms of having college degrees.
Okay.
He was a school teacher. He was a police inspector at one point of his life.
Okay.
Then he worked in the agriculture department of the British government and one other department of the British government.
Okay.
Finally, he retired as the curator of the National Museum in Calcutta. And that curatorship continued for quite a long time because for this reason, he had to go abroad and he penned his travelogues in English. He was in one of those very, 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 very early Indian English writers.
Wow. So cool. So cool. Speaking of that, I guess you also dream to drive to London from India.
That is just a fancy.
That is just a fancy thing or a real thing?
Well, actually, I am engaged in a project right now. I am writing my own memoirs. So, as soon as I finish that, I will know if I can find a way to make that real.
Okay, but there are people who are doing road trips to London, right?
Yeah. So basically, I will include that in my memoir. I have actually written it.
Okay.
About my wish to do that.
Okay.
So once I finish it, I will know where I stand emotionally. So then
that makes sense. Yeah. That makes sense. Okay. For a lot of people, I really want to ask this question to you as well. A lot of people dream to not just become a writer, but also really cherish the work of a translator. I guess the work of a translator is way more difficult as compared to an author and a writer because of the fact that you have to understand both the emotions in the original language as well as the language you are writing in. What exactly and how much kind of what kind of efforts goes into actually translating an entire book?
I'll take off from the place where you say that you have to understand emotions and also express them in a different idiom or different register.
Yeah.
So in that case, I would say that basically when you are reading, the job of a translator is actually the job of a reader. When you're reading somebody's work, all you have to actually do is give your reading and your interpretation. And so you do not have to actually think about how the author is feeling. Even though you come to know of it, but you can never really know how another person is feeling generally.
Agreed. Makes sense.
And you do get the exercise is actually an exercise of getting those clues. But it's not your job to describe how he is feeling. It's your job is to describe to both showcase and expose him. Showcase him for all the good things that he has done and expose his flaws by being very faithful to the text so that the reader, a different reader, will make his own interpretation.
Okay. That goes into every kind of writing or every kind of translation or just into fiction?
Every kind of translation.
So reader does have a scope to understand and make his own perspective.
Make his own perspective.
Makes sense. That makes sense. So yeah, now let's move again to the stories. What all other stories do I get? I am always fond of stories. I really enjoy reading, watching, listening to n number of stories. What all other stories do I get inside this?
So actually last question was a very good question. I am actually still feeling the warmth of having answered it satisfactorily.
If you really want to
No. It's like an emotional inertia from there. Because I'm still happy about having answered it correctly.
Yeah. No, agreed. So, kudos to all the translators who does amazing work because we have amazing text in n number of languages. India is culturally very rich, linguistically very rich. We have a lot of languages: Bangla, Marathi, Tamil, Telugu, Kannada. And for a person like me who does not understand a lot of other languages, it makes more sense to read translations, at least to start with, to fall in love with that particular language or stories of that particular region. So yeah, that is the reason why I have utmost respect for translators because it's a very difficult job.
it always used to make me curious as to how in India you have the scope of learning so many languages simply by being an Indian, because they are just there, and people speaking them are just there. Yeah. At the same time, it is also strange as to how we end up learning only 2 or 3 languages.
Agreed. Yeah.
We should have more language teaching institutes in every major city. Yeah. Which is not there. I mean, like foreign language teaching institutes are there, but if you want to learn Punjabi, you have to find a Punjabi child who is reading.
True. You stole my words, because I was about to say this, ki you have institutes for French, German, Spanish, this, that, Mandarin and everything. You don't have institute who will teach you Bangla, Assamese or Manipuri or Tamil or Kannada, anything. A lot of people are only confined to one language. Like now in the metropolitan cities, you see English and Hindi are primary languages. If you are born into a Bengali family or a Marathi family, you learn it from your mother, or it's a family language, it's a mother tongue. So you understand, but you don't know how to write. That is also a very big concern. Like I am a Bengali, I don't know how to write Bangla, how to read Bangla. I really feel bad about it, because I don't feel proud about it. I really feel bad that I am not getting exposed to one particular language, and I really want to learn it. So yeah, agreed that we are surrounded by n number of languages,
but no facility to learn them.
Yeah, true. Like there is internet now. Of course, people can argue that there is internet and you can certainly go there and learn. But it's not that easy. Agreed, there is internet, but if you really want to, you can. It's not that easy for a kid like me, for a children who actually want to indulge into a language. You need to learn ABCD, but also you need an environment. How we learned ABCD in school is because there were 7, 8, 10, 20 people, kids around us of the same age, of the same emotional stature, of the same brain development stage, and everybody just wanted to learn ABCD. Through A for apple and B for ball, everybody learned ABCD. But that is not the same case with a guy.
You have to have a reason to learn it. So you did not have a reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I would have seen Bangla text around me, I would have learned Bangla. How to read Bangla. I can speak Bangla because that was in my family to speak Bangla on a regular basis. But I never got the chance to read about it, read Bangla. So yeah, that makes sense to have more institutes where people can learn actually Indian languages. I'm going to Google this today. That are there any institutes who teaches Bangla or
So Tamil? I think the headquarters of that institute, which is the Department for Languages, headquarters for the Department of Languages is in Mysore rather than in Delhi. Okay. So it's very, very far away. Had it been in Delhi, maybe.
But they should have different chapters, and they should have.
They have chapters, so each chapter in each part of India will teach 3 particular languages only and no more.
And
so if you are in East, you don't have a scope to learn Punjabi. If you are in North, you don't have a scope to learn Kannada or Tamil. So that is not
Which fair. Is not the right thing, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah, you should have more teachers. You should have more.
So that is the 3-language formula.
Achha, that is the 3-language formula.
Where you learn English, your mother tongue, and any one of those 3 languages that the chapter of that particular Department of Languages is teaching.
Okay. Not a very big fan of this particular theme. Then I need to figure out my ways to how to read original text and how to get hold of the original stories and the original.
You have to do major library runs, I suppose.
Agreed. Now you don't see libraries as well. We are sitting in Delhi. We are sitting in Noida actually. Do you know many?
I suppose you have them online. Scribd and Gestor.
But just look 25 years before, or maybe 10-15 years before, you had a lot of libraries in every part of India. Now you don't see libraries.
Have they declined? I didn't know that.
Yeah, they have declined.
I think I'm past that age of going to the libraries.
No. But honestly, do you see libraries around you? No, because it also used to be a business, right? People, kids or students used to go there, or it was government funded. Now there are government funded libraries जहाँ लोग बस जाके बैठ जाते हैं चुपचाप, जिसको पढ़ना होता है UPSC prepare करने के लिए बैठ जाते हैं. But you don't have private libraries. There was a time when book was actually a very big asset.
You tell me.
Yeah. Now though, God knows. ठीक है. Coming back to the book, what all I can expect from this book, apart from these stories, of realism. That is a correct term? No. A lot of heavy terms for me. You mentioned.
You're forgiven for that. But I would like it was like a joke. But
No.
what you can find are the beautiful stories that you will enjoy irrespective of their genre because they are basically literary fiction.
Agreed. That makes sense. On that note, बहुत shukriya for taking out your time and speaking to ABP Live Podcast, because it was really interesting for me to get hold of this personality. I have read and I've seen some movies in this particular space, also based in the Bangla space, in the Bangla region, but I've never read anything. It will be a delight for me, and I can assure you that I'll be reading these stories, and I'll surely share my feedback, and I'll surely what I felt after reading these stories.
Please do. I look forward to that.
Thank you very much, Sucheta, for talking to us. Thank you.
Thank you for the conversation.
Thank you.